Alright guys, so let's do a quick midday recap for this morning. It's November 3rd, 2016. It's Thursday. And again, this morning there wasn't a whole lot out there. I mean, we had a few decent plays, and then it slowed down quite a bit into the last into our last hour of trading here. But first play we had was AUPH. We were pre-market watching that 315 area. It was acting as a pretty good support pre-market, so we had a pretty good idea that if it broke that support, there's a good chance it turned into a nice short trade. One thing to keep in mind with AUPH was it had a short float of around 16%. So I thought that maybe, I was kind of hoping that maybe we'd get a quick morning spike first, squeeze some shorts, and then get a better opportunity. But it was pretty apparent, right off the open here, starting where this blue line is the open, that it was really heavy under all three moving averages. And yeah, so I didn't really hesitate too much. I shorted right through 315. It was a very similar play to what I did yesterday on SKLN through the 50 level, I believe it was. Yeah, right there in the late day. So for AUPH though, I was a little bit concerned that we might get a quick under 15 and then it would reclaim, because the price action was a little bit strange in that one, I found off the morning. So I just took a partial size through 315 just in case it came back through 320. So I would have actually stopped it if it broke 322 again, most likely. But it went through and then it tested over just once, and then it came right back down. Now, again, I only took a partial position through 315 because I wasn't 100% confident in it. But I'll tell you what made me add the rest of my position in. You'll remember that over the stream, as I was commentating on the trade there, that we were looking at that 313 level. The bid hit 312, and then there was a huge hidden seller at 313. And a lot of people miss these. A lot of people don't watch the level 2 or the tape enough to realize what's actually going on in the action. But at 313, we identified this hidden seller. There was a ton of shares going through. There was just a flurry of green buy prints at 313. And the price wasn't changing. It was clearly a hidden seller there. That gave me the confidence to smack the rest of my shares short at 312. So I ended up, again, like I said, with like a 313.2, I think, average. I took a little more at the 12 level than the 15. And the target on that one was 85, but this was a really impressive secondary move down here. I mean, it just couldn't get back over 90. And I was considering playing it again, decided against it because we had SKLN starting to squeeze, and then it actually ended up being a really nice wash. What an opportunity, man. And like I was saying, guys, although the small caps are a little bit on the slower side right now, there are at least 3, 2 to 4, sometimes 5 plays a day. It's just a matter of capitalizing on them. So, and then just being patient in between. So again, one trade like this one trade, even just with like 1,000 shares, for example, that can make your whole day. That could be $300-400 with a $50 risk, and that's what we're looking for every day. So if you nail that trade, then you can just walk away from your computer after 30 minutes of work and be happy that you made a day's pay. And I totally encourage that. I encourage it more than I encourage sitting around all day, because over lunch is where you might get a little tired, and then you start to make mistakes. And the lunchtime action hasn't been very good, so I do encourage taking that break between 12 and 1:15. Okay. AUPH, first trade of the day. Then we had actually TCCO. I actually popped my 5-cent cherry on this one today. This is a 5-cent tick pilot program stock, so as you can see, it's only trading 5-cent spreads. I was just experimenting with it because I've never traded one like this before. But I just so far from what we've seen from these, I don't think we've seen one follow through yet. They just tend to spike up and then they fade. So I took a short. Unfortunately, guys, not unfortunately, but realistically, all the trades I took this morning were actually shorts. There was no longs that I saw. I don't think JB saw any long setups that were really worthwhile. So thanks to Trade Zero, we're able to get shorts on any stock we need anytime, and yeah, it was great. They could get me the available shares that I needed on stocks like RGSE, TCCO, AUPH, and SKLN. My target on this one was 75, but I didn't get the fill, so I took 85. That was a smaller trade again. I just was sort of wanting to pop my cherry on that 5-tick rule. It was just a 500 share trade, but it was nice to finally, try one and see how they trade. It's definitely different. It's a whole different feel, but from what I've seen so far, they never seem to actually follow through, and they just die off in volume. So it's not really much to get excited about as far as that 5-cent pilot tick program goes. SKLN, this was a big miss, unfortunately. They off the open, they shoved it down and enabled the short sell restrictions. The SSR came on, and then it just put in this massive grind where they just started to grind up shorts, grind them up, and then they held the higher low over VWAP. Technically speaking, this is a buy signal for me, but I just felt like it was a short squeeze and nothing more. And if you guys remember, I was kind of commentating in real time about how I was going to look for some kind of topping action on it eventually, but it just needed to squeeze out. Well, I was looking at yesterday's chart, and there was a huge amount of resistance at 375. And if you guys took a listen to my webinar yesterday, we stuck around late day for the webinar, I was talking about how I am trying not to get in front of stocks on the front side short too often. But there are certain situations, like if the short sell restriction's on, it's so hard to get filled once the momentum shifts and everyone's selling. Good luck getting filled. It's really more difficult because you need buyers. You need to get in on the offer instead of the bid when the short sell restriction's on. So it spiked up and it hit 65, and then as it rejected 65, I started put a short offer at 64. I was really hoping for a fill. It was just a starter position. I was just going to risk like $60, just get in for 500 to start and risk off the high day at 75. Then I was going to add to the winner on a lower high. Didn't get the fill. Biggest miss of the day because this one totally flopped, and I think it's probably going to end up at 280 by end of day today. So unfortunately, it happens. Missed that one, but didn't bother trying to play a lower high here. I was thinking that if it retested VWAP, I would short it up in the 330s. Didn't get there. Didn't meet my criteria, so I left it. Next and final trade today was RGSE. This one was a no-brainer. It just spiked up. I couldn't see any reason behind it, at least initially. And if you pull up your hourly chart, it didn't take long for me to figure out that 140 was going to be big resistance. We have 50 EMA on the hourly. We have prior resistance right around 140 here. Again, short sell restriction was on, so this is what I did with RGSE. Just started in at 133. That way I could give myself about 10 cents of breathing room, 10 or 15. And if it got 140 over under, I might be able to add a little bit. But it hit me at 133 on the offer. I got right in front of the momentum there, and I didn't get a second fill. Again, short sell restrictions on, so you can't hit the bid. A lot of the time what I'm doing is I'm scaling in on the offer small, and then as soon as my thesis is correct and it's confirmed that I'm right and it is heavy, I'll smack the bid for the rest. Unfortunately, you can't do that with the short sell restrictions, so it does make them a lot more difficult to trade. I ended up with a 33 fill on RGSE, and the target was $1.12. So that was the morning so far, guys. I suspect it's going to be a bit slow this afternoon, so definitely feel free to take a lunch break. I'll be monitoring the market in the scanner in case we get a couple more plays, but as of lately, it's really just been all about patience. We get 2-3 trades is all it really takes to make your day. The biggest challenge, I think, has just been staying away from anything else that's not A+. So any setups that aren't, really high probability, that aren't really obvious, that's where you can start to lose money if you're not careful. So really been encouraging lately the idea of, first of all, taking a lunch between 12 and 1 o'clock, just step away for an hour when things are choppy. And two is just make sure that we capitalize on the few opportunities that we get per day in the small cap market. And, it's really not that bad. It's a little slower, but that just means we focus more on the plays that matter. So it's less distractions. All right, guys, that's my morning. I hope you had a good morning too. And we'll keep scanning and looking for some more plays throughout the afternoon, but we'll take a lunch break between 12 and 1 o'clock.